you take a look at this yellow post-it note here and just place it. Now the segment, I thought I had a paper listed here, but I just go ahead and click on this and take a look at the text, and it says click here. And then hit return full contest information. Now this I already had typed through some of the segments, so down below you have these, what they're called, different ligatures that go along with the text. So you have underlying segments, you have pieces that you can strike through the text. You can try all of these. It gives you forces in italics, forces are bold, forces these little drop cap pieces in here. This one's just underlined. When you go into the paragraph, you can click on it so it's centered. Go back to character, so you have these two options. And in this case, I just highlighted this and made this Helvetica and just hit return, just typed it in and brought it together. And you can see that the text, the kerning is what they call the space between these lines of text. So when you take a look at the different pieces in here, you can kind of let the mouse here, let it set over there. And you can do the same thing, click, and should let you drag through this a little bit. Huh. Let me go through there. Well, maybe I have to just grab it out here. But it should let you give a little bit of spacing in here. Same idea for this, the tracking. Let you tighten up the lettering so you can kind of get an idea and change that right there. And that'll give you the setup. The spacing between the lines of text is the leading. And that's right here, so you can do the same thing. You can drag this out a little bit. I still have the mouse held down as I go through this, as I see the underlining piece there. And you can also click in here and use the arrow key to do the same thing, which is kind of nice because it gives you a little closer design for it. And while you have that text selected, to just go ahead to the layer below it and give yourself a new layer. And in this case, you're just going to draw a shape, trying to draw this thing from the beginning part first. In other words, just straight away square as you go through this piece. Let's see if I can get the rectangle tool selected there. And just draw a rectangular shape for it. And once again, I can hide this part if I want to try to get the eyedrop tool to grab that color. Just hide that piece again. And just Option Delete will fill it with the foreground color. So just going to give it a paper. Okay. So there it is for that. Now when you take a look at the way it's illustrated, it's kind of at a curved central piece. I want to try to make it so that it is centered, so I'm going to Shift key, deselect this, and Shift key these two layers together. And once again, take the selection tool and just go ahead and line these up and center them on the page so they're centered together. And the text itself could be, still can make it a little smaller, just Option and Shift key it to make it a little tighter to keep it in proportion to what this is. And you can take these two together and you can merge them. And what happens is it flattens it together. And then now you can take this part and rotate it. And while it's rotated, you can go to Edit, Transform, and go to Warp. What happens is that it gives you divides this into thirds, and allows you to adjust this. So you can kind of just grab the corner and bend that up. Do the same with this one and bend this one down. You can adjust this with these two handles that come out of this. You can see that you can stretch it across, bring it across that way. Gives you a little bit of a look, and you can see that I can bend it over so you can see the underside of that paper. And readjust this a little bit, depending on how far you want it to go. So it's kind of a fun little piece to give you that extra dimension to it. You can do this one over here as well. Adjust it this way. And just tweak it over just a little bit so you can see the other side of it. I'm doing a little too far on that one. I'll leave that one stick over there. And there you have a little bit of the page there. Now once you select this, remember I already flattened the layer, which I always tell you to duplicate before you flatten something like that, so in that case I didn't do it. But what you have now is this piece of paper that's kind of folded over, and you can go to the dodge and burn, and this is a quick way to kind of give yourself some shading. You know, here's the shading on the highlights. You have three options. They're about 33% each, so you can see that part. So you can click on midtones and see how it's handling the midtones. Not too much shading. It's looking at the yellow as being a relatively light value, so I can go back to the highlights. I can dim down the exposure a little bit. Move this out of the way. And that'll allow me to shade that part of the piece. On this side, it looks like I lost a little bit of the edge, so I can always draw that back in there on the piece that I lost. I kind of went too fast, but I can give that piece a segment to it. And that'll give you a little bit of the line. Now, like I said, it looks like I lost a little bit of my paper coming around the other side of there. So I have to draw that in. So I can always get a new layer and just pop it right beneath it and go ahead and make a selection for it. It's underneath that piece. And just click on this color and grab a darker value and just either use the brush, make the brush a little bigger, and just fill that in there so it gives me that other side of it. So I kind of missed it a little bit on there. And you have two layers. So you have this top part, a little bit of this coloring, and the bottom piece is just going to be a shadow. So you can just place that in there. I'm just going to take the same tool, selection, polygon selection tool, and just kind of look at the layer. I'm going to start close here, let it come down to this part. If I hold the Option key, it'll turn into the lasso tool. Let go of it, and I can come over here to draw that piece, and just double click on it, and take a gray color, just Option delete it, fill that in there, and now you have kind of a shadow that you can change with the opacity here, and you can go to the filter and do the Gaussian blur to kind of soften those edges up a little bit. And you can see it interacting there. Okay? So just a little extra piece, see if you can put that together. Just